Is it time already to push the panic button? How concerned are you, Utah Hockey Club fans? That's what Robin and I want to know. We're going to talk about how concerned we are. Plus, we're going to drop in a little bit of talk about the Hart Trophy for League MVP, and we're going to introduce you to Archie, and you definitely want to meet Archie. All that and more coming your way right now on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in once again to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Tom Callahan, Robin Leaño here with you. Thank you so much for making us your first listen each and every day when it comes to all things Utah Hockey Club. We appreciate you being here. Remind you always to subscribe. If you like what you hear, please tell your friends. We love talking hockey. We love talking to you, taking your questions, interacting with you, and getting the feedback on the show. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And we're so excited today to get into a couple of big topics. Stick around. As I said, you're going to want to meet Archie later. But I want to let you know that you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And Robin, as we get started, this is a serious question. I know some people are probably thinking it's a little clickbaity. Is it though? This is started like a house of fire. Everything looked great.
Yeah.
But now you've been shut out 4 times. And the one thing that we were told all summer long is, the defense is going to figure it out. But don't worry, this team can score goals. They haven't been able to score goals. And I'm starting to worry here. And, it kind of stinks. Dante Fabro goes on waivers from the Preds. I don't know if Utah put a claim in for him or not, but the Blue Jackets got him. In the way waiver claims work, it's, the team with the highest priority gets the player if multiple claims are made. So, good for the Blue Jackets. But, Robin, I'm almost at the point where I feel like something might need to be shaken, if not stirred, right now.
Yeah, I do feel like there is a level right now in which people might be freaking out a little bit. Taking a look at what's been going on, the lack of production on both sides of the ice really just makes you I think question is definitely the right term. That question, like, is this team has what it takes to compete this year to at the level we thought they would. And so and as you said, beginning of the season, first few years, first few games, it felt like they were at that point. But since then, it just hasn't felt like that. And it does feel like it is close to getting to that level, Tom, where panic button might be up for that question.
And I don't want to sound super dire here from a standpoint of, number one, I don't want to scare away fans. Number two, I said before the year started, this wasn't a playoff team.
Right, of course.
And I think, like everybody else, I got my hopes up a little bit, right? You start by beating the Blackhawks, Islanders, and Rangers. You look pretty good. And then you come off of that first long and actually really difficult road trip in pretty good shape. Then you come home and you beat the Bruins. And it looks good. But then, since that game on the 19th of October, here's what they've done. Senators, loss. Avalanche, loss, both at home. At the LA Kings, loss. San Jose Sharks, OT, that one was painful. So you get a point there. Beat the Flames. Overtime against Vegas. That was actually a good overtime point, in my opinion. But you get beat by the Jets, and you beat the Blues, lose to the Predators. However, you're struggling to score some goals here, especially, you get blanked 3-0 by the Jets, who are the best defensive team in the NHL, have the best goaltender. But you got shut out by Ottawa. Then you got shut out by Nashville, who, by the way, do have one of the other best goaltenders in the NHL. So if I'm going to argue for reasons to not push it, I'm going to say, look, there's injuries, there's these problems, and this is why. These are excuses, okay, why it's not happening. But what bothers me, and I think the reason why I'm more concerned than most people is when I go inside and look in depth at what's going on here. It is a problematic pattern of inability to get second and third chances, inability to get grade A scoring opportunities, inability to really control, possess, maintain the puck.
Yeah.
Those are all things that put you on the losing side of a hockey score. And I feel like we're seeing that here. So it doesn't matter to me what 18 guys are out there. They all have to try to execute the game plan. And that's what concerns me, is that they're not getting better at it. At least if they're trying, you know what I mean? You can see the effort every night, but you're like, oh, geez, well, the other team's doing a great job blocking shots, or you know what, somebody stood on their head. Goaltending wise, okay, I get it. But I just don't get that feeling coming away from games right now.
You're right. And it definitely does feel that way. It seems that there is a level where this team just isn't, and we talked about this yesterday. I'm going to kind of maybe expand a little bit about it, but the lack of physicality, the lack of a forecheck, and keeping the puck in the offensive zone, and being able to be patient, find good shots on. It seems like they're not getting that. And I feel like on more games than not, if I'm not mistaken, they are posting like a negative Corsi or a lower percentage on that. So most of the shots are being against rather than actually getting quality shots on. I don't really, to me, it baffles me.
It is a little, man, I don't, it's kind of funny. You say baffles. It does feel a bit like if I'm watching this team, I'm sitting over there, I'm scratching my head. If you see me on YouTube, you give me what's going on here? Maybe under the chin, trying to figure it out. I have identified this. I think Andre Tourigny's identified it, but it's coming down to the execution on the ice. And so to me, first of all, if you believe Andre Tourigny is your coach, he's your guy, you trust his plan, his process, his game plan, and he relates that game plan to the players, and then they do not execute it. The old saying goes, you can't fire the players, you fire the coach. But if Andre Tourigny is your coach, you're not firing the coach. And so now it's on the players to execute this. And this is why ultimately it comes down to, as everybody is gathering their torches and pitchforks to come after me, why I feel like whatever mix of personnel is in that locker room right now, something's amiss. Something is not there right now. And you can't wait until February for John Marino and April for Sean Durzi.
No.
If you think you can do anything with this season. Now, if you don't, that's fine. And I will stop talking about it. But I don't necessarily think that is putting your best foot forward in your first season in Utah.
You're right, and I think there's a lot of that. Plus, too, if they also feel like they are at that point where they're not going to be able to compete, and this is not the season. Anyone that they had up in Tucson, honestly, just send them back. If that's if it will seem like you're giving up at that point, but honestly, if this were me, Tom, I'd be like, all right, if we can't muster up a competitive team here, we can do some, at least help these guys develop as best they can. Come back next year will be a lot better.
So if you think I think Lamoureux is a great example of this. Do you send him back to Tucson? Do you leave him with the big club knowing that you're short of defensemen? Because I think forwards, they have a little more luxury, right? There's some more space and room to roam here. You can send those guys back down. I don't think it's as big a deal. But defensively, he hasn't looked bad or out of place. Has he made mistakes? Yes. Is he going to make mistakes? Absolutely. Learning on the job is tough, especially as an NHL defenseman. So I'm looking at that thinking to myself, is he benefiting from the time and the experience up in the NHL? Is it going to make him better in the long run? And that's something I'm interested in knowing. But Robin, I am a big proponent of having a strong American Hockey League team that makes a deep playoff run, potentially wins a Calder Cup. I think that does a lot for team building, for chemistry, and for a championship pedigree, because now, even though it's the American Hockey League, I know it's not the Stanley Cup, but your players know what it takes to win.
They do know what it takes to win. And I feel like there is something to be said too, Tom, about the development coaching staff as well as just the coaches in Tucson on building a good team. They've had some bad years, but they've always they seem to make the playoffs more times than not. But they have a decent team. They've put forth a decent team. I think and a number of players, as we've talked about in the past, number of players who have gone through the Tucson Roadrunners have gone on to become pretty fine NHL hockey players.
And right now, absolutely. And that is the training ground. Like, that's where you start. Right now, Tucson sits 7th in a 10-team Pacific Division. And they're dead even, 5-5. So that's not a bad start. Coachella Valley is 6-5, and that's the team that now for back-to-back years it's been them and Hershey in the Calder Cup final. I think
like
Coachella
benchmark in the Pacific.
Yeah, absolutely they are. But right now it's the Calgary Wranglers, easy for you to say, that are leading the way, and of course, Robin's San Jose Barracuda. So 500 is not a bad start, especially when you got a couple of your big names up in Utah. I don't think that's a bad run for that team right now, Robin. I really think that if you put a player like a Lamoureux down there, and now you also, Doan's down there right now, you could probably move a couple guys up and back. I don't know if Bortuzzo's going to land up there eventually or not. The way the season is going, Bortuzzo might have been right place, right time, and will probably make NHL money for the entire season this year. I know he signed a two-way. I don't think he's going to see Tucson at all.
I feel like he's that kind of player, and where it's like the term where he's kind of like right there. He's kind of like in that middle ground. You kind of don't know what to do.
And you can always hang on to these veteran guys as rentals at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has value now. He'll have value down the road if you decide to go that way, or you can hang on until the end of the year. I mean, you're not losing anything with a guy like that one way or the other. I mean, your potential rentals on your 1-year deal guys are the Coles and the Bortuzzos of the world. And maybe at that time you get the other two guys back. You get a Dursey back, or at least he's on the horizon to come back. You get a Marino back, and then you might feel comfortable parting with them, picking up a few more assets that you can build off of. Who knows? But right now, I think they're kind of in a spot where you don't want to keep losing, and not losing the way you are losing without, if your coach has twice in the last 2 weeks mentioned a lack of spark, a lack of effort, and saying this is not who we want to be, that's concerning to me, because there's a difference between losing 3-2 where you went as hard as you could and the other team was just better, and that.
It very well could be that way. But we're gonna keep talking on this episode. We got some more to get to. We got a little bit of a Hart Trophy talk. Plus, we're gonna go introduce everybody to Archie. We're gonna get to all of that right after this.
I'm so excited to meet Archie. Today's show is brought to you in part by Select Quote, the World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, and that's teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million with no medical exam. Head to selectquote.com, and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Select Quote, they shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. That's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. NHL. And today's show also brought to you in part by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more right on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, Robin, I'm curious. If I held a big old panic button in front of you, and it was rock black or salt white, and had letters in the reverse color on it that said panic, are you hitting it yet?
I won't. I'm not pressing it. But I've got a finger on it.
Okay.
I'm kind of ready. I'm like, I'm ready, but let's see what they can do the next week or two. See if they show those flashes of what we know this team is capable of. I want to at least see some flashes. If they don't see any flashes, if I just see what we've been seeing, I'm like, then I'm pressing it. But I'm ready. I'm like right there. I'm hovering over, maybe, like I said, maybe even having a finger or two on it just to kind of be ready.
Now, let me say this. Pushing the panic button doesn't mean trading half the roster to me.
No.
But pushing the panic button means acknowledging that there is something that direly needs a change. So that could be the shuffling of your young talent back to Tucson and trying to make it work with veterans and saying, you know what, we don't think that those younger players are going to get the learning experience they need to at the NHL level. It's time for them to go back. And at that point, you are kind of punting on the season.
Yep.
So to me, that's a different form of that.
Yeah. And we've seen that this team is willing to really shake things up, with the, breaking up breaking up Clayton Keller, Lawson Krause, and Nick Schmaltz on separate lines, and it seemed like, all right, like you two might have worked well in the past, but right now it ain't working.
Well, what do you have to lose? Why not put the lines in a blender and hit frappe, see what comes out? What do you have to lose?
At this point, I feel like, you got to do anything you can to get this season back on track.
I agree. I really think that there needs to be a shakeup. And I don't know if it's a bagscape practice. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like, team only media. And that's the thing is, like, it's early in the season yet. So I understand you don't want to outwardly seem like things are going wrong or out of control, but that's on your leadership now. It's up to your leadership right now to step up in front of the room and go, guys, we cannot keep doing this. Things need to change.
Something does, because you and I have seen it. We know this team is capable of
and we've also seen what this team does once it gets going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. It's a team that can go on a crazy winning streak and have some really amazing flashes for a long period of time, but also the complete opposite, in which they go into a massive pitfall and can't win. I've talked many times, Tom, how this team it's still pretty much, a lot left over of the years in the Coyotes. Many, practically the same roster, plus or minus a couple different players. I think it was even like last year. I think after around that All-Star break time, where the Coyotes went on they just could not win games. They were just losing, and it almost feels like it's at that point, but it's just earlier in the season. But earlier in the season on that same season, they went out on a 7-game win streak against each of the last 7 Stanley Cup champions. So it amazes me how quickly one season, a spot in one season can change.
Yeah, I feel like this team could use someone like Arbor Jacki without the horrible, dumb penalties. That's why Jacki is not an everyday player for the Montreal Canadiens, because he takes some dumb penalties, ends up in the box, makes some bonehead plays. But I would love his energy and enthusiasm, and that can be what a Liam O'Brien is. But right now, they don't feel he's the answer being out there. I would like a Liam O'Brien plus, who might be a third line guy. You know what I mean? Who could play on that third line, maybe give you 10 to 15 goals, maybe 30 points. That would be a player that I'd love to see out there for them, who just goes out there and throws himself around like a human pinball. That would be nice, because this is a big team. They don't play big, though. Well, they're not playing big right now.
Well, yeah. Well, here's another thing, too. And I mentioned this person's name on yesterday's episode, because he's known for being a power forward. He gets his body up and gets the shot in the most opportune spots. Most of the time, I haven't seen enough from that in Lawson Crouse. Lawson Crouse is a power forward. I need to see power forward Lawson Crouse.
Yeah, no, I agree. I should be going in there and just blowing people up. And he got angry at the end of the game the other day. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of people, but that was frustration, anger, kind of boiling over at the end. I want to see more of that. I want to see it earlier, though. I want to see it off the first face-off. I want to see them just arrive angry to the rink, go out there, blow some teams through the glass in the first 5 minutes, put the fear of the hockey gods in them, and then see how the rest of the game goes. I bet you it'd be a lot easier to play for Utah. You'll find yourself with some more time and space. We talk about time and space all the time. Generate it yourself.
Yeah. And in a similar way as we talked about when we talked about over the off season, we talked about multiple times this season as well, on making sure you can get enough hits on there, break the body away from the puck, see if you can get control of it. Do whatever you can, because I think that's another thing. We talked about the physicality. This team doesn't have, they get out hit 2-1.
Yeah. Yeah, and they also have a lot of giveaways too.
It makes it another thing that, and I like the similar time of series, it baffles me that a team that's supposed to be physical is getting out hit and giving away the puck more times than they are actually hitting.
Physical is not always throwing a hit, but physical is finishing your checks. Physical is winning board battles. Physical is being stronger than the other team and hard to play against. That's physical play to me. And that is, I can tell that's the blueprint of how you want them to play. That's how you've drafted them to play. That is the player you've signed, that archetype.
Bill Armstrong said it himself, talked about making sure getting these physical guys.
Yes. Didn't want to be pushed around. And I agree with that philosophy. I love that philosophy. I think that's a championship philosophy. But something's a little off. All right, let's get to the next topic I want to talk about with the MVP race. So the MVP in the NHL is called the Hart Trophy, Hart. And the Hart Trophy is handed out to the MVP. That one, there's two different MVP. One is judged by the players. That's a Ted Lindsay Award. And in a way, that's kind of become almost as if not more prestigious to win, because it comes from your fellow player vote. But this one is the media and the GMs, I think, vote for the Hart Trophy.
Mainly the media. It's the PHWA, the Professional Hockey Writers Association.
There you go. PHWA vote for the Hart. So that's the league MVP. Fun fact, Robin, I, as a member of the Broadcasters Association for 5 years in the NHL, we vote for the Coach of the Year. Broadcasters pick. So I've actually voted for the NHL Coach of the Year 5 times. So, but MVP, can a goaltender win it? Connor Hellebuyck, the name has come up. It happens rarely, but it has happened that the best goaltender generally is going to win the Vezina, but can they win the entire league's MVP? And I bring it up because Hellebuyck recently shut out the Utah Hockey Club. So there's some relevance there. And I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that is definitely something that could be done. And I'm a goaltending apologist. But it also made me wonder, looking at this Utah Hockey Club roster, Robin, who has that potential? Because the wording for the trophy is the player adjudged to be the most valuable player to their team. not across the league, but to their team. Who is the most valuable guy to their team? Who is that for Utah?
It's interesting because you could take a look and judge this in a million different ways. It really depends on, like, I guess who's the judge, right? Who exactly is the judge, and what factors are you using? I mean, I could easily go out and say, and I'll go out and say this is probably the person I'll argue for the most, but a guy like Clayton Keller, who is going to go out and probably get the most points out of anybody else on this team. He is also the captain. He knows what this team is going to take to win, what's going to need to be take to win. I feel like he's been around long enough. He kind of understands what's necessary, and he can score. Really, and again, he's a really good hockey player. I feel like most of those factors are kind of what I just said. What should go into a most valuable, player award.
So I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple of names out there with reasons. And I'm not saying these are my picks, but I'll give you my reasons why I'm at least listing them.
Okay.
Sergachev, because he is the defenseman now, has to log all the tough minutes,
right.
Is out there pretty much half the game every night, just really eating a lot of tough minutes out there against other teams' top pairings. Plays in all situations. It's not an easy night every single night out, and it is his first go around as number one. But he is critical right now. Mm-hmm. If there were no Sergachev, gulp. So that's important to me. I think Connor Ingram is a guy we can mention. And you know what I didn't realize? Out of the 4 shutouts this year, Veggie's been in for 3 of them. Like, that poor guy. He's not getting any run support. But Ingram, and you could argue the goaltenders in general, when they're on, they give Utah a chance to win every single night. I would like to see them be 95% on. I don't know if that's humanly possible, but I'd like to see it. So that crosses my mind as well. And then, you know what? Up front, I think we talk about the names again, the Schmaltzes, the Krauses, the even guys like Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther and all of these players. Who's going to be the one that's going to step up and make the biggest impact? Who is going to be the one that, without you, the building collapses? And I know he cooled off after an initial hot start, but I'm going to go ahead and say that with time, Dylan Gunther is that player for the Utah Hockey Club.
I mean, he's the kind of player who, based on, and if you take, even though it was, a small sample size, just a couple of games, take a look at it. It's like, if you're able to find Dylan Gunther open and the puck on his stick, that shot, like, he's taking a shot on, and he knows what he needs to do to make sure to get to the right spot to get a quality shot on. It just seems, I think a lot of defensemen have figured him out. That's why he's kind of slowed down a bit, but that's a whole nother issue.
Well, and again, to the point you made last segment, why not jumble the lines a bit? So, but all right, we need to talk about Archie. So we got to get to Archie, Robin, because I'm not ending the show without Archie, because Archie is absolutely adorable. But
we'll get to Archie right after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. I've been using Prize Picks for the last couple of weeks or so, maybe close to the last month or so, and it's been really fun to use. Got a couple of wins. It's been really easy to use. I can access it in Arizona. You can access it in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, even Utah. And it's really easy to use. All you got to do is, you can, once again, get up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can sign up and get $50 instantly when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, Reach Tuesday. PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineup. Go ahead and check it out yourself, guys. Download PrizePicks today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. Once again, that's LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Okay. It's time now, everybody. Let's all take a deep breath and relax. And for those of you on YouTube, this is a special treat for you. Okay, this is the part of the show where we just all feel better. Right here, ready? Oh, Robin, is that not the cutest thing you've seen in a long time?
I love this. I just
Archie, go ahead.
I just love that. I mean, those that probably have been hockey fans for the last couple of years know that a lot of hockey teams have been doing this, where they will kind of like, quote, adopt and train these service dogs in training, and they're part of the team, and they're amazing.
They absolutely are. So this is Archie, and Archie is a 13-week-old black lab. The reason the name is Archie is that's the namesake of the Arches National Park near Moab, Utah. So hence Archie. So Utah Hockey Club is in a partnership here with America's Vet Dogs. And for the next 14 to 16 months, there'll be basic training and socialization with UHC staff, the fans, and public. This is the other reason why I think this belongs right here on this show, is because you fans are going to get a chance to meet Archie at games. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Archie got there in October. It's going to be all over the place, up and around. And of course, military night's coming up on Friday against Vegas. But you know what? This is fantastic. So as the release says, and I love this sentence, whether he's chasing balls, napping belly up, or joining midday social hours with staff, Archie will continue to grow into an invaluable member of Utah Hockey Club. So just fantastic. And you know what? Believe it or not, this is mind blowing. It costs $50,000, over $50,000 to train one dog. But the America's Vet Dogs services are provided at no charge. And at the end of the training, Archie will go to either a veteran or a first responder in need. So, Robin, I just wanted to end the show on a high note. I think we did that.
No, we will. And I feel like, Archie can certainly be a helpful, emotional and mental boost for all of us in case we're ever feeling bad that this team is not doing so well right now.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? Archie is supposed to be socialized and will be out there. So Utah Hockey Club fans, you will get to meet Archie. That's very exciting.
I love that. Like I said, I just love these things. I think those that are remaining from the Coyotes know the Coyotes had one a while back, Luna, and I remember then the Sharks had one with Finn. There were a lot of ones out there. They were all great, and a lot of the other NHL teams have done this, and they've all done amazing things. I follow almost all of them.
Yes, absolutely. We don't deserve animals. They're too good for us. But also adopt, don't shop. Yeah. All right. One last thing before we go. The NHL announced its Hall of Fame class. Being inducted here, Pavel Datsyuk, Shea Weber, Jeremy Roenick as players, women's hockey stars, Natalie Darwitz and Chrissy Wendell-Pohl. Also, winningest GM in NHL history, David Poyle, who I had the pleasure of working with, the Nashville and NHL executive Colin Campbell, also getting the nod. And Utah hockey fans, yes, Shea Weber is under contract for another couple of years to the Utah Hockey Club. So congratulations to you. You got your first Hall of Famer. I think he's going in as a Predator. It used to, I don't know if they still do it with baseball, but they used to make you like choose your cap, which cap was going to be on your bronze bust at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it was a bone of contention for fan bases. If a guy was traded like halfway through, what was he going to go in as, right? That was a big deal. So, but I think Shea Weber is going in as a Pred.
I think for the most part, they are like, I think it's all decided, if that's decided based off like where they had the most impact and whatever it might be usually.
That's why, I mean, some legends who do play for a long time in any sport, and they might naturally change teams. like one that comes to mind is Nolan Ryan. You know, Nolan Ryan had a lot of success with both the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. You know, which one are you going to pick there? Then there's, if a guy spends most of his career with Chicago and plays 1 year in Boston, at the end, you're not going in under the Boston umbrella. You're going in under the Chicago one. But yeah, I mean, there's legitimate, like Weber split his time. And I think he made the biggest part of his name and his impact with Nashville, but he was very important to Montreal.
I mean, just like how Wayne Gretzky is in as an Oiler.
Right. But a lot of people would remember him as a Los Angeles King, and fewer still would even remember the fact that he was a Ranger and, believe it or not, a St. Louis Blue. How wild is that? The best player ever, all time, played for 4 different teams. It's crazy.
Yeah, after he ended his career with the Oilers, it just kind of moved around. Seems like it moved around a lot.
Well, I was big on Gretzky mania when he went. I don't want to get tangential on this, but I was big on Gretzky mania when he went to LA. We'll talk about that another time. How about we talk about that another time, Robin? We
will. Any last thought before we close things off?
Nope, just congrats to the Hall of Fame class, and yep. Glad to see Archie out there. So maybe Archie will keep me from pressing the panic button if I'm too busy giving him scratchies.
I like it. That's a great idea. And we'll give more of Archie. We just need more of Archie. That's it.
Lower our blood pressure.
Exactly. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to leave us a review. Give us a comment, a like, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your shows, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are on Instagram, Threads, and X at @LO_NHL Utah. If anyone's making the jump on over to Blue Sky, we're also on Blue Sky, which is at Locked On Utah Hockey. Just go ahead and follow us there as well. I'm personally at Robin_Leonio. Tom Callan is at Callahan on air. Interact with us, ask us a question. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. And if you want to get access to us even more exclusive content and, maybe be able to text us one-on-one, get some more insider knowledge, send us a text to 801-760-9033 to join our Insider Text Club, 801-760-9033. You'll get access to the mailbag and a lot more as this season continues to progress. Once again, thanks everyone for tuning in to today's episode, and we'll see you guys next time.